I'm Claire. If you're watching this, then you're probably one of my 4 subscribers. And if you're not, and you somehow stumbled onto this video because the YouTube algorithm is trying something new, then all you need to know about me is that I have no clue what I'm talking about, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. Today, we're going to be checking in on the MLB playoffs now that the Divisional series have finished. In my last video about the playoffs, I made a lovely little bracket, and I want to talk about how my predictions went and, of course, how the series went. So let's take a second to acknowledge that I am a full-blown psychic, and there's nothing anyone can say to convince me otherwise. Out of 4 divisional series, I correctly predicted all 4. And yeah, maybe I chose the obvious favorite to win 3 out of the 4 of those series. But what's a psychic if not a person who looks at the data and makes a guess based on what's most likely to happen? So yeah, I'm a full-blown baseball psychic, and y'all can't convince me otherwise. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's do a quick recap of the 4 divisional series, and let's start with the one that disappointed me the most, and that would be Yankees-Royals. Maybe it's because I psyched myself up reading about the Yankees-Royals matchups of the late 70s, but I was expecting a little more hatred out of that series. And I think we can all agree, or at least Jeff Passan agrees, that we need more hatred in baseball. But I just didn't quite get that out of the Yankees-Royals, and I would have really liked to see it. On top of that, I was hoping the Yankees would lose, and I didn't get that either. So, yeah, disappointing series for me. The Yankees won, and I didn't get the bench clearing brawl I was hoping for. Even when the benches cleared in Game 4, and I thought I might finally get to see someone throw hands, they calmed down and continued the game. And I'm not advocating for violence. Well, okay, maybe I am. That's why I like watching hockey so much, even though I don't know what's going on. But I was just hoping the Royals would put up more of a fight, you know? They didn't even force a Game 5. Back in the 70s, the Royals would lose to the Yankees the same way they did this year, but at least they put up a fight, even if it was physical and potentially career-ending. But they fought. And I just didn't see that from the Royals this year. And then, when Garcia slid into second and Volpe tagged him out by punching him in the throat, and then added insult to injury by patting him on the back as he walked back to the dugout, I just thought that would be the spark. And for a second, it looked like it. The bench is cleared. But they talked it out. And yeah, again, I know that these brawls can be life-threatening or career-threatening, and I am impressed that these guys did not succumb to that. But at the very least, the Royals could have used that energy to get something started. Instead, their rally fizzled out and they lost that game. And you know what? That's just disappointing. No other word for it. Now let's move on to what I felt was my riskiest prediction of this divisional series. And that was Mets over Phillies. I was especially worried when I tuned into Game 1 and saw Derek Jeter and A-Rod and most of the other Fox studio analysts choose the Phillies over the Mets. and I was thinking, what do these guys who know way more about baseball than me see in the Phillies that they would choose the Phillies over the Mets? My one solace, however, is that Big Papi chose the Mets over the Phillies, and you know what? That means Big Papi and I have something in common. We're both psychics. We both could read the tea leaves when it came to the end of the Phillies season. The Phillies were clearly cooling off. Near the end of their season, they had lost not one, but 2 different series to the Mets. And you know what? It showed in this last series. On top of that, the Mets had Pete Alonso and a playoff pumpkin. Are we really surprised that they won the series? And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, stop being so superstitious. A pumpkin isn't going to get the Mets through the playoffs. First, you're wrong. Second, what the playoff pumpkin shows us is that the Mets are having a lot of fun playing together. And when guys have fun playing together, they win games. All right. Guardians-Tigers now. And as we can see, I'm still pulling for the Guardians because they're the least insufferable team left in the playoffs. In all seriousness, I do really like Stephen Vogt, and I am very happy that in his first season as a manager, he has managed to get his team to the ALCS. Good for him. I'm really excited for him. I liked him as an A. I was happy when we had him for a season with the Giants, and yeah, I just really like Stephen Vogt. What else can I say? The Guardians themselves made me most nervous for the integrity of my bracket. The Tigers definitely made it interesting. I did not expect that series to go all 5 games. I thought the Guardians would win it in 4. And I definitely did not expect the Tigers to take a 2-1 lead in the series. That definitely made me nervous. So, I was very thankful that the Guardians were able to force a Game 5. And even more thankful that Lane Thomas's grand slam in the, 6th, gave the Guardians the lead they needed to get to the ALCS. That's not to say that the Tigers didn't make it interesting. That bases loaded situation in the 7th inning was nerve-wracking, and I'm not even that much of a Guardians fan. But the Guardians got through it. They scored a few insurance runs, and they're off to the ALCS. And frankly, that's probably a good thing because just like we didn't want to reward the Houston Astros for being cheaters, we also don't want to reward AJ Hinch for being a cheater. Y'all thought I forgot, right? But on to a much more sympathetic manager. Again, I'm very happy for Stephen Vogt, and I'm really, really hoping he can get the Guardians past the Yankees and through to a World Series win. That is my desperate, desperate hope for this postseason. Guardians in 6. And finally, let's move on to Dodgers-Padres. And before we continue, let me go ahead and slip into something so y'all fully understand the bias I'm working with here. Much better. I have a lot of thoughts about this series. Starting with this. How dare Derek Jeter try to gaslight us into believing that Dodgers-Padres is a bigger rivalry than Giants-Dodgers? How dare he? In fact, let's not just pick on Derek Jeter. How dare every national analyst try to convince us that Dodgers-Padres is anywhere near the level of Giants-Dodgers? Yeah, I get it. The Padres are better than the Giants right now. The Padres were playoff contenders. The Dodgers were playoff contenders. The Giants weren't. But anyone with any understanding of baseball history should understand that Dodgers-Padres is a joke compared to the Giants-Dodgers rivalry. It's at best a placeholder rivalry for the Dodgers to have someone to play against and compete against while they wait for the Giants to get good again. But you're really going to try to tell me that Dodgers-Padres is more relevant than Giants-Dodgers? Giants-Dodgers started in 1889. That was our first matchup. That's a full 80 years before the Padres even existed. Hell, it's a full 14 years before the Yankees existed, Derek Jeter. Which makes it, frankly, a more historic rivalry than even Yankees-Red Sox. In fact, Dodgers-Giants is not just regarded as one of the premier baseball rivalries, it's arguably one of the best sports rivalries in all sports. That's how much we hate each other. But don't just take my word for it. Go onto online forums, see the comments. I'm going to put up on the screen some comments that I grabbed from a Reddit thread talking about the Giants-Dodgers rivalry. And the interesting thing about this one is I grabbed these comments from a thread about the Dodgers-Padres rivalry. Even when they're talking about the Dodgers-Padres rivalry, Dodgers fans are talking about the Giants. So yeah, tell me again how Dodgers-Padres is more relevant and more of a rivalry than Dodgers-Giants. I mean, this is a rivalry that's so historic, so ingrained, that the great Jackie Robinson decided to retire when he found out that he was being traded to the Giants. But yeah, Dodgers-Padres is a more relevant rivalry. You even can look at the most recent time that the Dodgers faced the Giants in the playoffs. 2021. It was the first time since 1889 that the Dodgers had faced the Giants in the playoffs. And let's go ahead and compare the Giants-Dodgers NLDS to the Dodgers-Padres NLDS. Because even then, we can see the differences in the rivalries. In 2021, the Giants and the Dodgers destroyed each other, trying to beat each other. That was, to them, more important than actually getting to the World Series. In this series, the Dodgers were just trying to win the series. The Padres destroyed themselves trying to beat the Dodgers, but the Dodgers were just trying to win the series. And you could see that in some of the managerial decisions that were made. For example, you never once saw a starting pitcher come in as a reliever in a safe situation in the Dodgers-Padres series. You did in 2021. Because it was more important to the Dodgers that they beat the Giants than that they keep Max Scherzer fresh for the NLCS. I mean, even after the Padres took a 2-1 lead in the series, I never once had the feeling that the Padres could knock the Dodgers out. I still felt that the Dodgers were the superior team the entire time. And there was always the feeling that the Dodgers were the superior team and that they would pull through. You didn't have that in 2021. Not because the Giants were the superior team, but because you had the feeling that the Giants were going to do everything possible to make sure that the Dodgers would not advance, even if it meant destroying themselves, and vice versa. And sure, Manny Machado threw a baseball at Dave Roberts, and Dodgers fans delayed the game because they were throwing trash at Jurickson Profar and at the dugout. First of all, Manny Machado is a dick. We all know that. If you don't know that, you've had your head in the sand for the last entirety of his career. And as for Dodgers fans throwing trash at opposing players, you know what? I'm not surprised. That's what I expect of Dodgers fans. And let's for a second talk about the narrative of Game 5. I saw some headlines saying, oh, it was a nail biter. No, it wasn't. As soon as Kike Hernandez hit a home run in the second inning, you knew the game was over. The Padres were not going to win that game. And the Padres knew it. Compare that to Game 5 in 2021. That was a nail-biter. Tied until the 6th inning, and then the Dodgers score a run, and then the Giants respond with a run. And then it's tied into the 9th. And the Dodgers score a run, and then the Giants start threatening. So much so that Dave Roberts, in order to beat the Giants, decides to bring in Max Scherzer, delaying his potential NLCS start, which incidentally is probably part of the reason why they did not win the NLCS. Again, they destroyed themselves to beat the Giants. That's a rivalry. Beating the Padres is another Tuesday for the Dodgers. So frankly, I wish the national media would stop trying to gaslight us into believing that Dodgers-Padres is a more significant rivalry than Giants-Dodgers. It's only a rivalry right now because the Dodgers are waiting for the Giants to get their shit together and be competitive again. And then we'll go back to hating each other. I could go on all day about the Giants-Dodgers rivalry, and frankly, I probably will in a future video. It's a fascinating topic and is definitely worthy of a deep dive. Even from an unbiased perspective, which I am not, but even from an unbiased perspective, it's a really interesting story. That being said, when I do make a video on this, do not expect an unbiased perspective. It's gonna be hella biased. And if you haven't figured out what bias it's gonna be, then you're not picking up on context clues, are you? So instead of dwelling on my gripes with the national media and the NL West rivalries, let's go ahead and take a look forward to the championship series. Obviously, my hope is that the Mets beat the Dodgers. They've got some things going for them. I think that playoff pumpkin could work a little magic. They've also got some things going against them, namely the Dodgers and the Dodgers roster and pitching and offense. And the fact that the Dodgers, even though they did get to 5 games in their series and the Mets have had a little extra rest, the Dodgers did not burn themselves out, unlike the last time they played a division rival in the divisional series. So, I have a feeling that the Dodgers will probably win in, let's say, 6 games. I don't see the Mets going through any further. Pete Alonso and a playoff pumpkin are not enough to get past Shohei Ohtani and Mookie Betts and Will Smith and Blake Trinan and Yamamoto and pretty much everyone else on the Dodgers roster. I'm not going to name them all because I'd like to pretend that I don't follow the Dodgers in much depth. As for Yankees-Guardians, I can't lie. The Yankees look good. It makes me a little worried about that prediction. I am going to stand by it, just out of principle. But if the Guardians are going to take this series, it's going to be the full 7 games, I think. And given that the Yankees looked good against the Royals, they've had a little more rest, and the Guardians had a longer series than I expected against a team that I don't think they should have done, against a team I don't think they should have struggled against. I'm less optimistic about that particular prediction. I would love for the Guardians to beat the Yankees. I will not be able to take a Yankees-Dodgers World Series. I might just skip the World Series if that happens. But the Yankees, as of right now, look a little stronger. And if they win, it's not going to be in 7 games. They're gonna take a little shorter to do it. I think it will all matter on who wins that game 1. I think if the Guardians win game 1, they'll have a better shot of extending it to 7 games and pulling through with a win. I think if the Yankees win game 1, we'll see 6 games, and the Yankees will win. But I'm still really, really hoping that the Guardians win, and I hope I'm wrong about my assessment about this series. But yeah, what do I know? I have no clue what I'm talking about, especially when it comes to baseball.